AFR Talk. You're listening to Focal Point with Brian Fisher.
Video segments of today's program will be posted at afr.net and on the Focal Point Facebook page. You'll also find the best collection of Brian's resources on our Facebook page. If you're on Twitter, you can be among the first every morning to find out what the day's show will be about. Just follow Brian at Brian J. Fisher.
Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point. This is Brian Fisher, the program Focal Point, the network AFR Talk. Don't forget the movie Alone Yet Not Alone. That's out. It's in theaters. True story about a family dealing with reversal and adversity, kidnapping, danger, the threat of death. This back in the French and Indian War in the 1750s, and it's based on a true story. Alone Yet Not Alone, been in theaters now for a couple of weeks. Don't forget 8 Days of Hope coming up July 12th through 19th. Still a need for volunteers. You can go to 8daysofhope.com, either the number 8 or you can spell it out, 8daysofhope.com, and you can sign up to be a volunteer for this project. They need carpenters, plumbers, electricians, drywall finishers, painters, and especially for those that are skilled with roofing. 700 homes in Tupelo, 3,000 homes within a 60-mile radius, all of them damaged by this tornado that came through in April. An opportunity for you to do something. Lodging is provided, food is provided. Just need your skill, your body, and your tools. If you can come and bring those with you, that's 8 Days of Hope, July 12 through 19. And you can go to 8daysofhope.com and get more information. Now, on the immigration front, apparently President Clinton has come out and said, look, I'm tired of waiting. President Obama, I'm tired of waiting. He's charging ahead, according to Fox News, with a set of unilateral changes to the country's immigration system, announcing that he's going it alone after Speaker John Boehner informed him the House will not vote on an immigration overhaul this year. Now, that's a win for us, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that John Boehner's given up on immigration reform this year. He's given up on amnesty for this year. There's one reason and one reason alone: the American people have spoken, and he got the message. You know, one of the huge wake-up calls for the Republicans was the defeat of Eric Cantor, big-time proponent of amnesty. He got waxed by a no-name by 11 points. David Bratt, unknown, never held political office before, no money, no name ID, had no Tea Party help. None of the Tea Party groups, they thought his case was so hopeless, they didn't even bother. They didn't even show up. So he had to do that without any money, with no name ID, with no political experience, with no big campaign staff, with no Tea Party support, and he beat Eric Cantor by 11 points. Why? One word: amnesty. American people have had it up to their eyelids with what's going on the border. President Obama going to charge right ahead and do it himself. Now, here is clip 12. Luis Gutierrez, Democrat, one of the leaders on amnesty, and here's what he had to say in his message to the Republicans on Friday.
I gave you the warning 3 months ago, and now I have no other choice. You're done. You're done. Leave the field. Too many flagrant offenses and unfair attacks and too little action. You're out. Hit the showers. It's the red card. First of all, your chance to play a role in how immigration and deportation policies are carried out this year is over. Having been given ample time and space to craft legislation, you failed. The president now has no other choice but to act within existing law to ensure that our deportation policies are humane.
That's Luis Gutierrez, pulled out a red card. Like you have the World Cup, you get a yellow card, that's a warning. Get a second one, that's a red card. You're out of there, you're off the field. So Luis Gutierrez tossing us off the World Cup field. Now, you got this huge disaster down on the border, unaccompanied children, 378 children under the age of 2 somehow coming across the southern border. They're housing them in warehouses. They're looking for empty buildings. I mean, they're looking for warehouses. This is where they're going to put children. I mean, it's like these are kennels. I mean, they remind me basically of humane shelters, what you do for animals with cages and fences. And I mean, it's just barbaric what's being done to these children. And this is Obama's fault. These are his policies. He's the big DREAM Act guy. Marco Rubio, hey, you can get here before you're 16. You get to stay forever. John Boehner saying that. Eric Cantor saying that. All the Republican leadership saying that. Hey, get here before 16. We're not gonna toss you out. You be here for good. And so parents down in Central America, they hear this, and that's why they're shipping their kids these risky, dangerous, life-threatening journeys from Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador to come across our border. That's Obama's fault. He's the one. And the Republicans that have been part of this DREAM Act insanity, they're part of the problem because they have created this impression that's enticing these families to send their kids on these very hazardous journeys. So, John Carl, clip 13. John Carl's got a question for Josh Earnest, the new spokesman for President Obama. Exactly what are we talking about here in terms of the numbers of illegal aliens who have been released at the border? Let's listen.
Again, just to follow up on questions you had last week about the flow of children coming over the border of Mexico. You were asked, and a number of other officials across the administration have been asked, how many of those that have been caught have been released with a promise to appear back in court? And you didn't have that number then. I'm wondering, do you have that number now?
I don't have that number in front of me, John. But
why don't you have that number? Well, it's been asked everywhere. It's a number the administration has, right? It's not that you don't have it. It's that you don't want to release it, right?
Well, I don't have it, actually, John. DHS may have it. But let me just stipulate something. Without knowing what that number is and without having seen it, I think we can all stipulate that number is too high.
So John Carl calling him out. Look, I know you guys have the numbers. You know them. And you're just not willing to share those numbers with us because they look so bad. Now, so President Obama, and it's weird, he's saying he's going to implement all these unilateral policies on immigration. Got this story today from The Blaze saying that the Obama administration is going to launch a public information campaign to inform Central Americans that it is not United States policy to allow unaccompanied children who cross the border illegally to remain in the country. So now all of a sudden, President Obama is going to start sounding tough on immigration. He's going to let these Central American companies know, no way your kids are coming into this country. Don't send them. We're going to send them right back. Like, I will believe that when we see it. Can you picture President Obama accepting any responsibility for children being loaded up on planes and being flown back to their home countries? There's no way in the world that is ever going to happen. Here's what Obama said in the letter to congressional leaders today, quote, "We are working with our Central American partners, non-governmental organizations, and other influential voices to send a clear message to potential migrants so that they understand the significant dangers of this journey and what they will experience in the United States. These public information campaigns make clear that recently arriving individuals and children will be placed into removal proceedings and are not eligible for the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals process and earned citizenship provisions that are part of comprehensive immigration reform currently under consideration in the Congress." So they are going to be placed in removal proceedings. They're not eligible for deferred action. They're not eligible for earned citizenship. We're going to send them back home again. We'll believe that when we see it. And one salient fact, I've had this story in the stack for several days, but to give you just a quick a sneak into what illegal immigration, what explosive immigration means for the American workforce, all of the employment growth, this is the Fisher factoid of the day, all of the employment growth since 2000 in the United States has gone to immigrants. All of it. All employment growth since the year 2000 has gone to immigrants, whether legal or illegal. This is according to a study from the Center for Immigration Studies. Net employment growth in the United States since 2000 has gone entirely to immigrants, legal and illegal. Using data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, CIS scholars Stephen A. Camarota and Karen Ziegler found that there were 127,000 fewer working-age natives holding a job in the first quarter of 2014 than in 2000, while the number of immigrants with a job was 5.7 million above the 2011 or the 2000 level. So realize what they discovered here. The number of natives, that is the number of Americans who were born in America that have jobs, has dropped by 127,000 since the year 2000. That's despite the fact that our population has grown by 17 million. So we have 17 million more working age natives that don't have a job than was true 14 years ago. 17 million more Americans that were born here that are working age and do not have a job. 17 million more of them than we had in the year 2000. There are 127,000 fewer working age natives that have jobs right now than there were 14 years ago. The number of people born in America that have jobs, 127,000 fewer have jobs than was true in the year 2000. Meanwhile, 5.7 million more immigrants have jobs since 2000. So obviously, it proves that there's no labor shortage. We have 17 million natives that don't have a job, that are working age and don't have a job because all those jobs have been taken by immigrants, whether legal or illegal. It obviously, a flood of immigration reduces employment for natives, no question about that. Yet native employment shrinking, but employment going to immigrants, legal and illegal, has increased over the course of that time. Let's grab a call. Let's go to Nick in Savannah, Tennessee. Nick, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Now I was going to talk about Obama.
Yes, sir.
When is it going to be enough? He's broke the law so many times. If you or I, we'd been in jail by now.
Well, that's right. And, but what are you going to do? And, Nick, I mean, the reality is the only thing that can serve as a check on this president is impeachment. I mean, that's the constitutional remedy for a totalitarian president is the power of impeachment. And, until we have Republicans, Nick, that develop the titanium in their spine to actually use that constitutional remedy, I'm afraid not much is going to happen. And the other thing, this is going to get resolved at some point. And I think we, Nick, as God's people, we need to continue to ask God to check this. I mean, he has ways of restraining out-of-control power that we haven't even dreamed of. And I think we need to bring our complaints before him about how out of control our chief executive is right now and how lawless he is, because he has ways of checking his power that we haven't even dreamed of. But that's the constitutional remedy. It's impeachment. And if Republicans are not prepared to use that tool, which is in the Constitution, perfectly appropriate, not even necessarily a radical thing to do, it's there. Let's use it. Until then, I don't know what can be done.
Roll it. Government is not the solution to our problem.
Nothing but truth.
Government is the problem. The problem.
Daddy government, please tell us what to do.
That's why I support ensuring that committed gay couples have the same rights and responsibilities afforded to any married couple in this country.
A government can't control the economy without controlling people.
You're not going to start singing, are you?
Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, weekday afternoons, 5 Central, AFR Talk.
We're going to transform our culture.
It's possible, as each believer first lives a holy life before